Today is all about how joy is possible, even when it feels like it's not. All types of things are gonna get in the way of your joy and my joy. Situations at home, at work, your relationships. But the thing I want to address today is the thing that you can control. That is your grumbling. Life is like a never-ending pursuit of happiness. We're always looking for something better than what we have. But problems, trouble, pain, life, death, all get in the way. Just when we think we're almost there, we get knocked back down. What if joy didn't mean what you thought it meant? What if you could have joy no matter what circumstances you're facing or will face? In this series of videos, we're exploring 5 keys to chasing joy. Today, we're going to own the truth that the humble don't grumble. I tell you what I like grumbling about. This bird feeder right here. My wife has this bird feeder hanging over our porch, and there's a little couch under outdoor furniture underneath it, and she just loves looking at the birds come up. There's birds come up. It's not just birds, it's squirrels come up. You can see them gnawing all over this, and they come up and they spew seed all over the place, because why not? You're giving the entire neighborhood a free buffet. Hey, I'm buying you food. Come over here and spray your food all over the furniture. And while you're there, just poop all over the place too. Just poop down. And we're back and forth. She loves seeing the critters. Critters are fine by me, but I don't like their leave behind. And it's been this thing back and forth, back and forth. And the problem is me, because I'm grumbling about this. I can't control what she wants to do with critters, and I guess I could just try to power up and just take it and steal it. I actually might just leave this in my garage. Hopefully she'll forget about it. But I can't control that. But I can control my attitude and not having a grumbling spirit where I'm grumbling. Today we're going to start with the end in mind. We're looking at a section out of the book of Philippians, and the end of the section that we're going to see today is Philippians 2, verse 14. Here's what it says. Do all things without grumbling or disputing, that you may be blameless and innocent, children of God without blemish in the midst of a crooked and twisted generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. Who wants to be blameless and innocent? Who wants to? You want to be? I do. Who wants to be a child of God without blemish? Oh, I want to be a child of God without blemish. Who wants to be crooked and twisted? Who wants to be? Hopefully none of us are raising our hands, although that does sound like an amazing new 8% beer that some microbrewery somewhere should come out with. Crooked and twisted. Yeah, I'm gonna have me a crooked and twisted. What separates crooked and twisted people from blameless and innocent people? What separates crooked and twisted people from children of God who don't have blemish? One word: humility. How do you know someone who isn't humble? They grumble. They are in disputes. That's what it means to not have humility. You're grumbling. Humility isn't having low self-esteem about yourself. It's just thinking about yourself less. A few years ago, our board went through an exercise in the scriptures, just meditating and talking about the concept of humility. It's how we open up every meeting for about 6 months. And one board member thought this is a really great idea. Jim Bechtold, great man of God. And to be quite honest with you, about month 4, where I felt we were spinning our wheels, I wasn't sure what this exercise was doing. Was anybody learning anything about humility? What are we seeing? What are we feeling? What are we thinking? And finally, I think I said something one meeting. It's like, I'm not sure where we're going with this. And then we stopped after like a half a year looking at that intensely. Now I know, looking back, now I know that Jim was hearing from God, because humility is the exact thing that we have needed over this last couple years. The exact thing. I'll tell you this right now. Next time we have a global pandemic sandwiched with a contentious presidential election, followed by a run on the Capitol, followed by social unrest on every social issue, ending with inflation and recession. Next time all that happens, we're gonna be ready. We're gonna nail it. We got it. We got you covered. Because we did a lot of things wrong over the last couple years, and I have enough humility to be able to recognize that. And sometimes we make mistakes because we don't have the humility to admit that I don't have all the answers. The Apostle Paul is writing this letter, the letter of Philippians, from a prison cell. His teaching is that we should have the same attitude of Jesus. And what was that attitude? It was one of humility. Paul's literally practicing what he preached here. He's in prison for following Jesus, and he had every reason to grumble, but instead he chose humility because the humble don't grumble, and because that was his choice. He was choosing that, and therefore he experienced joy. Lib and I, we got married 33 years ago or so, something like that. We had a banner at our wedding, and we chose the heading and the theme of joy and said, choose joy. Joy is a choice. Happiness is what happens to you when everything happens that you want to have happened. It's all happening the way I want it to happen, therefore I can be happy. But joy is a choice. You choose that. And you can choose it because you're choosing humility. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking about yourself less. You don't think about yourself as a loser. It's not a thing of low self-esteem. You just spend less time thinking about yourself because you want to spend more time thinking about God. The more you think about yourself, the less you can think about God. The more you think about yourself, the less you can think about others. Humble people think more about God and more about others. And when we think about others, we're less prone to fight with others and grumble with others. Let's keep going in Philippians. Chapter 2, the very beginning, verse 1, it says this. So if there is any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. The Bible tells us we're supposed to look after our own interests. It's not bad looking after your own interests. You gotta look after your own physical interest. Am I healthy? Am I eating right? You have to look after your own interests and say, am I saving and making enough money, saving enough money? It's good to look after your own interests. You need to do that. But the scriptures teach us to not only do that, that's a no-brainer thing everybody does. Even crooked and twisted people look after their own interests. But it says, look after the interests of others. I think we do a pretty good job with that as a church. And our last data point with that was our response, and is our response still right now, to the flooding that's happening in eastern Kentucky. Man, rough stuff. And here's a little piece of us, how we as a church are looking after the interests of others.
Hi, I'm Darren Kroger. I'm with Crossroads Church. We're down here with our disaster cleanup teams in Hazard, Kentucky. We're responding to the flooding event that happened last week. And we are down here trying to help people clean up their homes, dry out their homes so that they can save their homes.
It's so traumatic to walk or drive down the road and see what used to be a home, to see somebody's social security card, literally like see an identity of a person who you don't know where they are and where they've gone.
When you think about flood, you think about, oh, there's water in my basement. This was so destructive, so unbelievably destructive, and happened so quickly that people just did not have a chance to get out of its way. Once you have areas that are flooded, you can't get in a car and drive out, or you're going to be trapped in your vehicle and drown. Just blows your mind.
Never in my life have I seen such a vast opportunity to come together, where there's counties wide need for people.
I see God in the face of every one of those volunteers every time they pick up something, every time they pick up a piece of wet carpet or pull out a cabinet or throw a door on a burn pile or whatever it is, all the little acts of service that they do, that's where I see God, where I see Jesus.
Being the hands and feet of Jesus is cleaning out people's homes. It is serving meals, but it's like so much more than that. It's welcoming people into your heart, as having compassion.
So many of you gave, that so many of you have volunteered your time, and you are making a difference. You might not be here and you're watching this video, and you might not be able to be in Hazard, but your entire church is bringing hope. So on behalf of all of Eastern Kentucky, I just want to say thank you to Crossroads.
That is heart-wrenching, while at the same time being heart-warming. Looking after the needs of others in humility is an incredibly godly characteristic. Jesus did this. He did this with his entire life. And in this passage, we see some of the signs of humility that he had that we are told to have. You know you are experiencing humility when there's a couple things. One, when there is oneness. That's what it said. He is being one with God, and we're to be one with one another. Paul encourages the people in Philippi to have the same mindset in love. The same thing. If there's any, then make my joy complete by doing this. God is Jesus, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They are one. They are one in the same. And this oneness enables them to interact with humility with one another. We have so much grumbling and so much anger that's happening in our culture because we don't have any oneness. If America ever changes its constitution and we become an autocracy, I want to be king. At least just for one day. If I was king of America for one day, I'll tell you exactly what I would do. I would do something that would give every American a common experience. I would do something where everybody had to be one. Coming out of high school, everybody pick your poison. You either got to go to the military for 2 years, or you got to go to the Peace Corps for 2 years. In that 2 years, you're going to have to dress like other people. You're going to have your head shaved like other people. You're going to be like other people for 2 years. You're going to interact with people who have more money than you and who have less money than you, who have different political opinions than you. There's not a common experience in America anymore. That's why we're always fighting all the time, because we're not humble, because we can't serve other people, because we can't understand other people. And why aren't we doing these things? Because we're not humble. Grumblers, and we are a nation of grumblers, will always have a hard time with oneness and unity, because humility is a prerequisite for oneness and unity. Verse 5 says, have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus. Have this mind of oneness. And then verse 6, who though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men and being found in human form. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Therefore, God has highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name that is above every name, so at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Oneness. Oneness is critical for humility. The other thing that's critical is obedience. Obedience. How many people would say, I want to be an obedient person? Obedience is great. It's great to obey. Oh my goodness. Obey is the worst four-letter word in our language. It's the thing that nobody wants to do. And maybe that's why very few people are actually like God, because Jesus obeys. He obeyed God even to death. This means that there's going to be things in your life and my life that we're going to have to do that we don't want to do, even maybe to the point of death. When you find a life that's willing to lay its life down out of obedience, out of honoring God, you're going to find a person who's humble and on the way to a great life.
Hey, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Andy.
And we're in the book of Philippians today talking about joy. And you know, here around Crossroads, we believe that giving can actually be a joy.
Yeah, we believe that giving allows us to show our hearts and can help us continue to stumble towards God together.
That's right. And if you want to give right now, you can go to crossroads.net/give. Now, let's get back to the message.
Philippians 2:6 says, who though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. It says Jesus there, his way of humility was to empty himself. Jesus existed before the earth was created. He existed before Christmas took place. And he comes down to this earth to live a sinless life that you and I can't live, to die a brutal death that you and I deserve. He does that out of humility. And it says he doesn't grasp onto it, meaning he had interests and perks up in heaven. Whatever those are, we don't know. Whatever angels were fanning him and feeding him grapes, the life he had there, and he came out and led a difficult life, and he had splinters in his hands and other difficult things. But he didn't cling to all those things. He released them. He didn't cling to his interests. He didn't cling to his preferences. He didn't cling to his wants, his desires. He released them out of humility. It's the core to who he was and what he did. He was lucid about his mission and who he really was. I've started taking up golf again. I haven't really golfed consistently since, a long, long time ago. I stopped golfing for the most part when I got married. I had my first weekend after our honeymoon. I went golf with my buddies. I told Lib, hey, I'm going golf. She said, okay, great, that's fine, hon. The problem was, her dad didn't golf and she never dated anybody who golfed, so she didn't have any perspective for it, how long it took. So after 9 holes at the turn, I give her a call, my new bride a call, and say, how's it going? I'll be home in a couple hours, whatever. And she says, where are you? I said, I'm golfing. She says, what, you're golfing? She had no idea, like take 4.5 hours, the whole thing, right? My friends talk about how that back 9, how I would hit my ball and run to my ball. Run and run and run. And I just stopped golfing after that. It wasn't because she told me not to. It was just time and money didn't make sense. I recently, just this last summer, I've golfed more in the last summer than I have in the last 10 years, probably 4 or 5 times this last summer. And I was golfing with my son. My son said, man, when were you at your best, Dad? And I said, 22. I was pretty good back then. And then when I said that, I thought, 22, it dawned on me, that was 34 years ago. Now, other than thinner gray hair, I'm exactly the same as I was physically at 22. My measurements are the same, my endurance is the same, all that's the same, but I haven't been golfing. And so no wonder, every time I go out and golf, I get frustrated because I can't hit 250-yard straight drives consistently. My identity is one that I am a golfer, even though I'm not. I haven't been for 34 years. And I get frustrated because I keep thinking I'm a golfer, but I'm not. See, a lot of us think that we're humble, but you're not. You have the identity of but you're not. Like, when did you not do something you wanted to do and voluntarily look out somebody else? When would that have been? Many of us identify as a Christian. That was a long time ago. A long time ago that you got baptized. A long time ago you read the Bible on a daily basis. A long time ago you would actually have prayer requests and you would actually pray. A long time ago and you would tell somebody about who Christ was. That was a long, long time ago. And yet we say, I'm a Christian. I'm not saying you're going to heaven or not. I'm just saying, hey man, if your game isn't one of Jesus, stop calling yourself that. You may identify with Jesus, but unless you're living the way he lived, which we're seeing here in Philippians 2, you're not. We can't get upset about it. We got to take an accurate assessment of where I am. Okay, this is where I am right now. So let's build from there. I'm a crappy golfer now. Let's build from there. I'm a selfish, prideful person who grumbles. Good. Where we are there, and now let's build from there. I might have just hurt your feelings with what I said. I don't know why. Why would what I just said hurt your feelings? It's really weird. Like I could say, how does somebody else say something that hurts our feelings? Feelings don't have feelings. Our feelings are never hurt. Feelings just express what our ego is feeling. It's my pride that's hurt. It's my ego that's hurt. People aren't ignoring or intentionally dissing us or saying things to offend us, but we feel that because we're exalting ourselves. We're looking out after our interests, our views, our opinions. They're just living their life, not thinking about us, just like we live our lives and don't think about other people. And when we say things like, you make me feel like a piece of garbage, that's really not true. No one can make us feel like a piece of garbage. We're making ourselves feel like a piece of garbage because we have too much pride and too much ego. They don't have power over our emotions. Our ego does. Our pride does. There's something wrong with me. And therefore, we grumble and we become a nation of grumblers. Paul Tripp says this: grumbling has to do with the emotional side of complaint. The English translation is onomatopoeic, which means that the word audibly represents its definition. One of the greatest words in the English language, onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia. It does. Grumble, the word grumble is what it is. Grumble, grumble. If you're with anybody right now, let's do a little exercise. And let's, in 3 seconds, let's all say the word grumble 3 times together, okay? Grumble, grumble, grumble. Let's do it again. Grumble, 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 grumble. You hear that murmur? That's what the normal American population is like. It's a bunch of prideful grumblers who don't get their way and just want to spew and spout wherever. And even if we're not saying it, we're feeling it, and internally, there's just no joy. There's no life. We're bearing it. We're grumbling internally because we're only looking after our own interests. I think as a church, we have signs of doing pretty good with this. We have campuses that celebrate when other campuses get a new building or get some upgrades, instead of just saying, "Wait, how come we're not getting?" We celebrate one another's victories because we are one as a church. One, no matter what state we're in or where we're going, we are one. Therefore, we're celebrating with Dayton right now, our Dayton community that's been in rented facilities and has been helping other people get buildings. Our Dayton community has just gotten its own building, an old Sears up in Dayton. It's awesome. I think it was $3.1 something million. Great. We're celebrating with that. We are looking out after the interests of our Dayton community. It's amazing. We're excited for you, Dayton. Now, we have no idea how we're going to find the millions and millions of dollars of construction costs are going to go into that. That's another problem for another day. But right now, we're just celebrating, and we are excited for Dayton because we are one. Some of us have evolved our grumbling into what's known as the humble brag. And there's different versions of the humble brag. I'm looking like I'm humble. Really, I'm just bragging. I'm building up my ego. Like Biggie. Biggie was right. He said, "Hey, just filed my taxes. Mo money, mo problems." Kind of a humble brag, right? That'd be nice. Mo money, mo problem. Or you ever hear this one? "I hate when I go into a store to get something to eat and the staff are too busy hitting on me to get my order right. So annoying." Yeah, you're so attractive, aren't you? Those are humble brags. It's just a new school version of false humility. Tim Keller said on Twitter, "True gospel humility means I stop connecting every experience, every conversation with myself. I stop thinking about myself altogether. Stop spending time on my interests, on my desires. I spend time on Jesus, his interests, his desires, which is other people, his lifestyle, which is about foregoing his own interests many times, which is about taking a road of sacrifice, of difficulty. And when he doesn't get his way, he doesn't grumble." So one thing we never see Jesus do is we never see him grumble, even though he had more than enough opportunity to grumble. When people who were close to him were letting him down, he didn't grumble. Now here's the good news here. This life of humility, this life that brings us joy, isn't a life where all our life we get the short end of the stick. It actually is the path for God to reward us and God to honor us, for God to do that. The next little section in Philippians verse 9 says this: "Therefore God has highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name that is above every name, so that at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Jesus, the name of Jesus, is recognized as all supreme here on this earth, here above the earth, which is heaven, and even below the earth, which is hell. That's what's represented there. God has hyper exalted him. That's what's meant there. Hyper exalted him. He's elevated him. When's the last time you heard someone say, Buddha? You might have heard someone talk about Buddha. Have you ever heard someone use Buddha as a swear word or an expression? You ever hear somebody say, Gandhi? No. You ever heard someone say, Richard Dawkins? No, you haven't heard that. Because Buddha, Gandhi, and Richard Dawkins don't have a highly exalted name that means much, at least not as much as the name Jesus. No one's going to say Richard Dawkins' name in 10 years or 100 years. He'll be long forgotten. He'll never be an expression that people use for millennia afterward, because there's no power to that name. But there is power to the name of Jesus, because the humble people who find joy in the path of looking out after the interests of others, of being humble and pure instead of crooked and twisted, will eventually be exalted. Maybe in your next job interview it will be, maybe it'll be next year, maybe next decade, for sure in the next life. Jesus says this in Matthew 23:12, whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. So if we want to elevate our interests, elevate our desires, elevate our opinions, elevate ourselves, always think about ourselves. If we want to elevate, eventually God goes, I'm going to need to bring you down. You will be humbled. You will be brought low. Maybe America's having the problems we're having right now because we've been too prideful, and God's brought us down. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled. But here's the cool thing. And whoever humbles himself, whoever chooses the low place, whoever chooses to look out after the interests of others and to serve others as Jesus served us, and to not insist on always getting their way, getting their opinion, their views out across, whoever humbles themselves says will be exalted. God says, that's a life I can work with. That's a life I want to build upon. That's a life that can take more responsibility. That's a life that can take more perks. That's a life that can take more rewards. That's a life that can take more blessings. And he elevates us. You make the choice, friends. You want to exalt yourself and grumble about everything else that isn't right according to your own interests and views and desires, and then watch how your life actually goes on a downward trajectory? Or do you want to humble yourself at the place of Jesus and watch and wait for him to exalt you and elevate you? When you get this right, there's a joy that permeates your life that transcends circumstances. It's a beautiful thing. It's a great thing. Go get that this week.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed the message today and you were able to get a clear picture of chasing joy through the book of Philippians.
That's right. This series is tied to an entire church initiative called the Bible Challenge, and we've been doing that throughout the past year.
Yes. We as a community are in the Crossroads app all through the week, reading and diving deeper into Scripture.
And you know what? Maybe you've made it this far in the Crossroads app. You've been with us all year. But if you haven't, you can join right now. All you have to do is download the app and you are set.
Hey, that's all we've got today. We'll see you next time on Crossroads.
What do Jolly Ranchers, diamonds, plants, and people have in common? Well, at first glance, maybe nothing. But at second glance, we see that all of those things go through a little thing I like to call process. Today on Crossroads, we're talking about how process might just be the link to the joy that we've been missing. We're going to look at Philippians 3 to see what a man named Paul has to say about pressing, process, and poop. Alliteration.